All right, today we are working on the installation of the Linux backup agent for OpenText Server Backup, formerly Carbonite Server Backup or Evault, and we have a variety of distributions that we can do the install on. Today, we are going to be installing on Ubuntu 22.04, and this will be the LTS version, and we have to make sure to do a couple prerequisites for the BMR backup. Now, if you're not going to be doing a BMR, you can go ahead and skip forward to the actual agent installation. This is copied over from the release notes. Always make sure to check the release notes before you do an install, just to make sure you're covering all of your bases for any prerequisites. Some of the distributions have little notes that go along with them. We do not for Ubuntu 22.04, at least in the base install. Now, for the bare metal requirements, we do need to make sure we're under the 2.6, 2.7, and 2.9. We don't have any restrictions to any of those versions for Ubuntu. So I'm going to jump over to my Ubuntu server here, and I'm logged in as root. If you're not root, you might have to do sudo, but we're going to do a apt search, and we're going to look for rear. The rear version that we have in our repository here is 2.6, so we are good to go. It does match for the release notes. And I can just do a simple install with that with an apt install rear, and I'm just going to put a -y there to automatically install that for me. Now that that's done, I'm going to clear the screen here, make it a little easier to see. And I need to go a where is rear, and I'm actually going to copy this path into my clipboard. We'll need that for a little bit later in the install. I've already done the transfer of the agent over to this server, and I'm working with version 9.4. You can either download it directly from the download center or copy it from another machine using SCP or WinSCP. The first thing we need to do is extract this, and I'm going to use tar-xzf and the agent gz file. Once that's done, I'm going to cd into the agent directory. And we have a variety of files that are in here, but I just want to do a /install.sh, and that'll kick off the installer. Enter to read through all of this here, and you can get down to the bottom where you can type in Y for being able to accept the license agreement. After that, I'm going to keep the default installation of opt.bu agent, and the BU agent does not exist. Now, if I hit enter on this with the square bracket around the Y, that'll take the default. Same thing here with the default language, and then the default for the encryption options. Now here for the bare metal restore process, it does default to Y, so if you hit yes on this, it wants you to put in the path, but the agent installer doesn't do a search for that automatically for us, which is why I had it in the clipboard earlier. So I'm going to paste that in here for where that rear is installed to, and hit enter. And then I do want to register to my portal, so I'm going to leave that as default for the Y on that, and put in all the portal information. Now that I've got the address, and then I hit enter for the default port of 8086, as well as the username and password, I'm going to hit enter to process the install. And now that that's done, we can see that it has registered to the portal. The delete console here is in regards to not being able to use the Windows Central Control anymore, and that's a bit of a legacy process. And then it went ahead and installed the services here, and it successfully started the agent. At this point, I've got my portal open now, and I'm on the main page. I'm going to click over to computers, and we can now see here that we have a unconfigured Linux server. So I'm going to click on the bar here to expand it, and then I'm going to select the configure manually, and then the add vault button on the right. My particular install here does have a vault profile, so I will select that. Otherwise, manually enter in the vault information for your environment and hit save. If you need information about setting up a vault profile, I do have another video that goes over that process. And here you can see we are registered to our vault. At this point, I can go to the Jobs tab, and we can set up a new job. On the right side, the Select Job Task dropdown, we have the option for the local system job, or if you do have NFS shares, you could do that setup. We'll cover that at a later time. For the moment, I'm going to click on the local system job. And in here, because I have enabled the bare metal restore option, it does show it in the middle pane here. And if you expand that out, you can see that it identifies just the root partition as being bare metal required. So I'm going to go ahead and put a check mark in that and hit include. If you did not do the bare metal option, or you just want to do something else for this, you can expand out this middle and select items for include and exclude, etc. as needed. And then you can just give it a name, for example, BMR Linux, provide the password and any hints. You can even add a description if you'd like, and then create job. The next window that comes up is the scheduler, and I do want to have daily and monthly, so I'm going to hit the add schedule button at the top right. Now the short version of this is that you want the longest retention on top, so I'm going to actually select monthly for this top one, and then click directly on this time and change this to days of the month and select the first. Now I do want the time to be the same. So this one says 9 p.m. That's fine. 9 p.m. for the monthly and 9 p.m. for the daily. The short version is that you want them to run, even if it's going to run on the same day, it won't kick off two instances. It'll recognize the top one and run the retention for that. Now I'll hit save on this. At this point, you can let it run on schedule. The portal here will actually show a warning, which is okay because we want it to show that, hey, this server is not protected, and that's a warning because we want it to be protected. So we can let it run on schedule, or we can just kick that off right now by going to the select action dropdown and run job. And for the moment, I'm fine with the daily retention, so I'll click on the Start Backup button. One thing to note for the Linux agent specifically, the waiting in the queue of the job. So what that's going to do is create an ISO file directly on your Linux server. Now you're going to need to copy that ISO off in order to do that BMR at a later point if this server were to completely crash. It would be accessible through a restore from another computer process. I do have a video on how to do that. That one's more geared towards Windows, but the same principles apply for Linux. And we'll take a look at where that ISO is here after the backup completes. The backup is now completed, so I'm going to close this window and refresh the browser here if needed. It will show this okay with warnings for a minute as the browser is being refreshed. You can do that by clicking on computers or refreshing the entire thing. And we can see now that the server has the OK status, as well as that job with the green check mark and completed. We're going to jump back over to the Linux server here and take a look at that ISO that was created. So I'm on the root of the server, and it is right here on the root. It makes the bare metal restore image. Now it does make it just with this generic name, so you'll need to rename it as needed when you copy it off to a shared location, etc. If you forget to copy this off, you'll have to go through the restore from another computer process if this server goes down and you need to go get that ISO from another server to be able to mount it to your hypervisor or actually burn that onto a disk or USB drive. And that's the basic process for getting everything set up on your Linux server with the agent install and basic configuration. If you have any questions about this process, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and we'll catch you in another video. See ya.